interviews. Be aware of the media, I'm telling you. Think about the ideas they are selling you. Their tricks are very compelling, that you don't have to fall for their charades. At least I know one thing, yeah. There's no need to be appalled. No, there's no reason at all. You can chill, babe. You know there's people evil, shorty. Why you so appalled? There's no need to be appalled. Is your auto hoax even on? You gon' learn today.
Alright, that's Soul Might Fly, No Need to Be Appalled, produced by Zoe Runna. I'll put a link in the Discord server, and if you're in Discord, you can find the live streams by going to infiniteplainradio.com or .live. We have a few things to go over. I have to show you something right off the bat with the autohoax.com archives. One of the things we covered was the PSYOP at the Naval Air Station shooting in Pensacola. One of the last things that I posted at autohoax.com on this piece was this. It was an update. Did they film the attack? Will this go online and be used as a further excuse to censor the internet, just as the New Zealand fake shooting has been? So again, this is referring to Mohammed Saeed Al-Shirani. He was an aviation student, a Saudi national, killed 3 in a classroom. This is what we were told, of course. There are no tears. Everyone on the scene remarked how much it was like a movie. We covered this yesterday, and again, you can find this at autohoax.com. We're just saving you the time. Well, the latest bit of news on this, the last update was, oh, they were filming it. So my question is, if they filmed it, is this going to be used to advance the censoring the internet narrative, just as New Zealand? Well, this is what I came across this morning. Pensacola suspect hosted a dinner party to watch mass shootings the night before the attack. U.S. official says the Saudi student who fatally shot 3 people hosted a dinner party to watch mass shootings. So he invited his friends over. I mean, how did they know this? The official was briefed by federal investigators. He said that authorities tell him one Saudi student was being recorded outside the building while the shooting took place. 10 Saudi students are being held, and several others are still accounted for. So this is a breaking update. The idea here is, like I said before, it's going to be a bunch of Allah Akbars. They're not going to be doing the bowl cut shootings for a bit because that was this summer. And this is pretty much the Republicans' chance to get their psyops in. So the left does fake shootings. The left exaggerates the weather, the climate change. The right is all about the war on terror. So this is going to be really good for the right wing because they need to fear this stuff. This gives them some Islamophobia to get their voters riled up. An aviation student from Saudi opened fire in a classroom, killing 3. It prompted a massive law enforcement response and base lockdown. Ended when a chef's deputy killed the attacker. 8 were hurt. So the victims, let's see, we have a number of names here, but like we didn't see anything. It's all just hearsay. It's the hearsay. If it bleeds, it leads. Media. And you're supposed to just believe it. So now they're talking about some of the victims here. The brother of one of the victims said his brother was unable to make it outside of the classroom to tell authorities where the shooter was after being shot multiple times. Oh, he was able. Okay, so he's a hero. We always have these stories too. If you notice, these events will always have heroics. There's going to be someone there who will selflessly die to save everybody else. This is what we saw after Sandy Hook. This is what we've seen in every one of these instances. And this is just part of the story building so they can say, well, look, this guy died. He's going to get a Purple Heart more than likely, posthumously. Watson's father said that his son was a recent graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy and he dreamed of becoming a pilot. He said, he died serving his country. This is the second shooting at a U.S. naval base this week. This is like what they do with the school shootings. It's the second school shooting this week. Well, those students didn't know each other. These are not connected. That's the conspiracy theory here, that these things are all connected. And of course, we know that this is all scripted and this is all part of the holiday season. I mean, look, it's Pearl Harbor Day, and you have Naval Academy uh, candidates being shot, students, soldiers being shot, people being shot in these bases. This is all meant to just gin up the sense of patriotism. They're dying for our country, and also irony. They're throwing in some irony here. So the right wing is always like, oh, they're trying to get our guns, right? Well, now the left can say, hey, look, even you right wingers, you're getting shot at your country music concerts like Borderland in Vegas. You're getting shot on your bases. This is an American problem. And they'll also say this. I'm predicting this. Somebody on the left is going to say, during the good old days, during Pearl Harbor, all we had to watch out for was the sneaky Japanese attacks. And now we got to watch our own backs because your own, fellow soldiers could be enemies within. They could be mentally ill, and they might shoot you. So you see what they've done here. So this is an update on the Pensacola shooting. Just one of the base shootings we covered this week. The other one referenced was at the Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard. Of course, December 4th, 3 days before Pearl Harbor. How convenient. Uniformed shooter kills himself. There's a suicide. After 3 DOD employees are shot. The agenda behind the PSYOP. Well, 3 days from Pearl Harbor. Mental illness, suicide in the armed forces. The crisis acting on this one gave it all away. Autohoax.com if you want to look at that right for yourself and actually assess these crisis actors. The site is a work in progress, but it's developing fast. Now, here's one from yesterday. There was a police chase in Miami, which I contend was staged and fake. 4 people, including a UPS driver and a bystander, were killed after a robber stole the driver's truck and led police on a chase. Now, they called it a high-speed chase. They said it was a 20-mile high-speed chase. It ended in gunfire at a busy intersection during rush hour. Now, all the clips that I saw didn't look like a high-speed chase. And can you imagine a UPS truck being in a high-speed chase? This thing's just lumbering around. So it's just a quote high-speed chase. He was slower than O.J. Simpson. It was definitely a made-for-TV chase. Every bit of it was on your local news, CBS. Here's CBS This Morning. So the UPS truck pulls into a road here where it's just so blocked, the traffic has just made it impossible to go any further. So here's where the police catch up, and they have a massive shootout. Dramatic, in front of the public, or so you think. I mean, we don't know who's in these cars. We don't know how many cars were told, okay, you guys are going to leave at this time. You're going to slow down. We're going to create a bit of a stop here. I mean, this looks staged. And I was watching the shot very closely, and the camera crew and the helicopter seemed to know exactly what was coming. But here's the thing. The shootout. I was looking at the shootout very closely, and I'm like, wait a minute. Why am I seeing like rounds that are creating fireworks? So I looked at this very closely. This is the side of the UPS truck. So we're told that the hijackers are on both sides and the hijackee, the 27-year-old, is in the middle. Now I don't see anybody in here. I don't see anybody in the driver's seat at all. But what I do see when the officer fires are these sparks, these fireworks just blown up all over the side here. So what is up with that? What is he shooting at that's causing these sparks to light up like this? And it was a little bit here. It was for a little bit. It's like fireworks. It's about, I don't know, just a few seconds. They pulled the camera away so quick. And I wonder, was this made for TV? I mean, it looks like Star Wars. So I did a search, and I found something called spark paintballs. And there are so many different forms of this training ammunition. But what we have here are paintballs that are designed to create sparks when they hit the target. Sparkling paintballs. Now, these are creating real sparks upon impact. They're for special effects. These are for movies. It says very effective to make criminals think you're shooting actual bullets. Again, these are for movies, I suppose, or for the nightly news when they're going to fake like there's a shooting. But what I'm suggesting here is that we're seeing spark paintballs. So, does the Miami Police Department use spark paintballs? It appears so. Again, that's on autohoax.com. So look, keep an eye out for this. Pensacola suspect hosted dinner party to watch mass shooting videos, just like New Zealand. And so instead of the white bowl cut motivated by mass shooting videos and the gamification of mass murder, well, now it's the Saudis as well. Let me go ahead and see who's in the chat. Thanks for joining. Dental Misorder, Damn Josh, Jennifer Reeves. Yeah, exactly. Every crisis actor from this last event, these soldiers, they were smiling, they were looking around, and their accounts were horrible. It's just bad acting. They were like, "Well, I know somebody on that side of the base who says he heard something. Well, then why aren't they interviewing him?" Yeah, this is another point here. If people in uniforms are killing us, how are you supposed to trust one another? See, that's the narrative that they're weaving. They've done it already for the school students where, oh, the shooter's most likely going to be somebody who's in the classroom with you right now. I mean, that's really the paranoia out there. Damn Josh says with cross platforms. Oh, absolutely. We don't even have to name any of the horrible fascist companies, these corporate fascist companies. We don't even have to name them, except to shame them. You know, we really don't need them. And we haven't for a while. And they've made it clear that they can't handle what we do here, which is fine. Oh, look, this is another thing I want to show you really quick. This is the STS-133 final launch of Space Shuttle Discovery. Now, for those of you who have studied the matter, you know that these aren't actually rockets going to space. What you're seeing here is a massive blimp. Nobody's in it. That shuttle you see here is a dummy, and it's not the same one that you will see when they land it. When they land it, it actually makes sounds like a jet. If you can find footage that they haven't curated themselves. Like if you were to catch the landing of a space shuttle, you would hear it like a jet because that's not the same vehicle. But I was watching the process of it launch. You can see it goes into its tilt and it goes into its arch where it's basically upside down. It's belly up when it's reaching escape velocity, which it's supposed to. But here's the thing that I find most interesting about it. I'm watching the different altitudes it's at when it drops the tanks. And so that big red tank, now the big red tank gets dropped when it is going 12,000 miles per hour and it's at an altitude of 340,000 feet. So it's pretty high up when that big red tank falls off. And the reason why that's significant is yesterday, the day before, we were going through one of these space shuttle videos where they were showing that big red tank after it falls off. And so this just clarifies, for me and for those of you who are wondering, this thing is supposed to be in outer space. So what you're seeing here, this is the optical illusion and they broke it. This is why I'm saying this is a debunk. This video here, which has 2.5 million hits, it's by NASA. This is showing the external tank falling off the space shuttle. And so what you're supposed to be seeing here is the external tank falling down to Earth. And you're supposed to say, wow, the Earth is beautiful. Look at that. Those are the oceans below. Above the oceans, you're seeing the clouds. So you're supposed to be 340,000 feet up, if you can believe it. That's what you're supposed to believe. And they're looking at this tank as it falls away. Now, if you watch this footage from the beginning, and I'll put it on slow motion so you can see it, what they're trying to convey here, they're trying to give you the impression that they are filming this from within the cockpit of the space shuttle. So one of the astronauts grabs his camera, he holds it up to the window, and he's like, "Oh, look, I'm going to catch this tank as it falls away." So here he is looking at the tank falling down into the ocean. They make sure to show you even the inside of the shuttle. They show you the windowsill, so you're pretty aware as a viewer that you're in the space shuttle and you're watching this thing tumble away from the space shuttle. And here's the windowsill. Stage set. Seems legit. Now, why would they do this? Why would he put the camera down here? Again, this is just because it's storyboarded this way. This is how they scripted it. Because this is on the ground. Here's the part here. This is the big giveaway that shows you the space shuttle mission is a hoax. The footage that I'm showing you is from the ground. They're in a vehicle looking through a window. I mean, it could be a space shuttle mock-up. It could be the guy's Honda. I don't really know. He's on the ground filming up through the glass. And what is he filming? He's filming a blimp. This is a shot of a blimp from the ground. It's below the clouds, and that's the sky. Your eyes aren't fooling you. You're actually looking at the sky. You're not looking at the ocean. So that's my question to you. Are you willing to believe that you're looking at the ocean? Or are you aware that you're looking at the sky? Your eyes will tell you that thing looks like a kite. It looks like a blimp. The way it's moving, it's a balloon. It's floating in the air currents. And those are clouds up above. And that's as clear as you could be. So what they didn't, I guess, anticipate was that maybe 5 years later, people would take a closer look and recognize the obvious optical illusion. This is an optical illusion. Again, that is not a massive booster about to fall into the ocean. And what's more, and many people, I read through all these comments this morning. There's 1,000 comments. I think I scrolled through all of them. At different points throughout, people have noticed, wait a minute, this is supposed to be in space. This is supposed to be 300 freaking thousand feet up. We're talking, this thing is so high up there. You couldn't see it from the ground. How come at 145, 143 up here, we got birds? So many anomalies in this thing that people pointed out. And it's not flat earthers. This is just people saying, hey, what's this? Why is there a damn, what is that? And the comments mostly say ice. Some type of a parachute. You know, what are we seeing here? And most damning of all, at 4:56, and you'd have to be, in complete denial of reality, is there is an airplane. There's a jet that passes right by it. And the cameraman moves the camera so you don't see it. And I had someone in the comments on Float even say, you're just seeing what you want to see. That can't be a plane. It's in outer space. Oh, really? I'm just seeing what I want to see? Let's see what happens if I change the contrast. This is what I mean. Your eyes aren't lying to you. That's an airplane. Of course, the guy who told me that I was seeing what I wanted to see has not responded, but that's an airplane. You see this airplane fly right by the tank. So my contention is that you're looking at a blimp, and this is one of the recovery planes. This is how they recover many things, like, airborne, or rather, balloon-borne satellites. They cut the balloon, it comes down on a parachute, and they snatch it up, and out of sight, out of mind. This is what they do for spy satellites. Looks like it's the same here. So they fake these launches. They have this big red tank. What do they do with it? They can't have it go land in somebody's backyard because they'll say, hey, wait a minute, this thing should have burned up in the atmosphere. Why is this thing just why does it feel like a big blimp? Well, look, this plane is there to pull it out of sight, out of mind. Endeavor's external tank is a blimp. The whole thing's a blimp. There's nobody in the craft. It's all a show. That's on autohoax.com. Let's take some more looks at your comments. Let's see. Glenn Clark, what's up? Kahuna Bear says helium blimp. Oh, yeah, helium. Oh, yeah, you would not believe NASA's helium bill. Check this out. NASA helium. Now, I don't know how much they actually rely on this stuff anymore because of CGI. I mean, SpaceX doesn't need to do blimps. It's just old school. They may not even be doing it anymore, especially because we called out so much. September 25th, 2014, NASA awards agency-wide helium contract. Lind LLC will supply helium to NASA's Columbia Scientific Balloon Facility in Palestine, Texas, their Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt. It goes through the list. Helium is used throughout NASA as a cryogenic cooling agent. That's why. It's also used as an inert purge gas for hydrogen systems and a pressurizing agent for ground and flight fluid systems of space vehicles. Gregory Harland. You know, they're so easy to reach. I need to start interviewing these individuals. So, they're told they use the helium to purge gases out of the tank so that there's nothing in them that could explode. One Eye Jack says just now got the notifications. Interesting. There's about a good 20-minute delay on notifications. I'm going to have to go through, if you want notifications right up front, it's going to have to be through, of course, email and Discord. Soon we'll be doing text message alerts again. Exactly, Tim Truth. They bought $53 million of hydrogen in 2014. Well, they have their excuses. Okay, look at this. A few more things. This is let me pull this up for you. This is a shot of the deadly shootout. Staged police hijack of truck in Miami. Look, the whole thing was staged. So many psyops in a short amount of time. Back to back. And they like to conflate them. But think about this too. We had one in Midland to Odessa, a long chase. And in that one, if you recall, it was, I think it was a mail truck. So it was a USPS, and now it's a UPS. They're recycling scripts. Okay, serious question for you. I logged into YouTube because I have some backup accounts I use for people who are still weaning. And they have your YouTube Studio Creator News. And it's like YouTube Studio News. Wanpa Zarita meets Susan. So this is what's in the back end of my Creator Studio YouTube. There's the CEO hanging out with Wanpa, who's giving the Hail Satan sign. And behind them, you have the symbol of the Skull and Bone Society. Very ominous. So I'm wondering, what is this? Here we are, about to see the big purge. They're already purging channels like crazy. YouTube has just stepped up its fascist agenda and they said, yep, the consensus is cool with what we're doing. We are going to eliminate the dissidents. And look at this. It's like rock on. I mean, does this not seem a little, I don't know, satanic? What else do you call it? They know. I mean, she knows. They're hyper aware of the scrutiny they're facing. So I don't know what you'd call this. You call it mockery. But I don't know. The church ladies ought to be going crazy over this. I made an AOK symbol once, and there were hours of videos put out about how I worship the devil. And it's like, well, look, you got your CEO of YouTube here, engaging in blatant Satan worship. So is YouTube a satanic company? Well, obviously. If you want to use that as an adjective, like they are the devil. Look at this. Antarctic expeditions shrink people's brains. They're trying to dampen your enthusiasm for exploration. An author of a new study on how the brain changes says long term Antarctic expeditions can cause you to have a smaller brain. 14 months, 9 expeditioners left with smaller brains, according to a new study. This may undermine their ability to process emotions and interact with others. Living in a monotonous environment, a place that rarely changes and contains few interesting objects or rooms to explore, seems to prompt changes in rodents' brains that resemble those seen in the expeditioners. As one of the few brain regions to generate neurons into adulthood, the hippocampus continually rewires our neurocircuitry as we learn and gain new memories. Although the rodent brain seems to rely on environmental stimulation to sustain it, less is known about the effects of isolation and monotony on the human brain. They also say that when you're in the space station, your brain moves up, like it actually raises in your skull. They come down from Earth with a different perspective. They call it the overview effect. They say that when you're up that high, you no longer see national boundaries. Look at this. Texas becomes UFO hotspot with hundreds of sightings. There have been so many of these cigar-shaped UFOs. Like almost every day, and this is in Texas. So what's up with these snake-like UFOs? What's up with these cylindrical objects floating around? It says there's a regular trickle every single week. They're seen every week. Hundreds in a year. There's a regular flow of sightings. You'll have a few months where there's not a lot of activity, says Jane, who noticed these snake-like objects. It's like a long pipe with a dull metallic color. See, what could that be? A long pipe with a dull metallic color? So we have all these big metal cylinders spotted across the country. There was one in Manchester last year that was actually vertical. And it was shining. Look, Manchester UFO cigar. And this was just a couple years ago. It's this one here. And so they said it was hovering and twisting. So this is something that we've already uncovered on this channel, but I'm just bringing this up again. You know what this is? This is not an alien craft. This is one of these blimps. It's a cylindrical blimp that these space programs use, even the private ones. So anyone in Texas seeing a dull metallic cylinder like a rocket, without the CGI or the flames on the bottom, you're looking probably at private space companies faking space travel. That's what you're looking at. How else can you explain this? The only people we know to be making use of metallic cylindrical blimps as part of secret projects would be the space agencies, would be NASA. And this just happened. Rotating cylindrical cigar-shaped blimp over Manchester, twisting and hovering. This is in the sun. Look, this is obviously not some extraterrestrial. This is from one of your space companies. And this is how they fake space. They send up a prop out of sight, out of mind. And occasionally people see these things and they say, well, what the heck is that? What is that big metal cylinder floating through the air? Well, zoom in. It probably has a SpaceX logo on it. Like I think this one says Blue Origin. And really ask yourself, what's more likely? That this is some extraterrestrial floating in a cylindrical blimp above or near Manchester? Or this is some fake rocket, some fake space rocket that the wind has blown into the public's view? That's most likely, if you ask me. Okay, let's continue. Chimp Wrangler 666 says, this is some real schizos right here. Well, what are you going to call it? Let me show you this, because look, you're going to call me a schizo, but you're the one that believes mainstream news. So you got to own this garbage. Hovering, twisting, cigar-shaped UFO baffles the Brits. We got a video here. So before you call us crazy, what you have to do is recognize that this has made international news. This has been witnessed by millions, and it's a cylindrical metal object. So I'm saying that you're part of a schizoid, sick-minded worldview where you're utterly deceived. Where something like this, you're like, oh, that's alien saviors. Well, we have a perfectly rational explanation for what this thing is. Like, what is it? They're saying. They don't know what the hell it is. Huge UFO cigar shaped metallic object caught in Denton, Manchester. It was in the sky for 40 minutes, visible to the naked eye, before going so high they couldn't see it. The camera's shaky because it's at full zoom. They said they guess it was massive. Best UFO ever recorded. So this is the best UFO ever recorded. This metal blimp, look, that looks like, literally, at the top, that looks like a SpaceX rocket. It looks like Falcon 9. What the hell is it doing above Manchester? And it's climbing. Out of sight. Disappears. So does Mr. Chimp Wrangler have any explanation whatsoever for what looks to be a rocket without propulsion going out of sight, out of mind? This is the reason why you shouldn't fear North Korea or their stupid missiles. It's all blimps. This guy says, LMFAO, not everything is fake, you moron. You have no rational explanation. Well, I would say this. That's your opinion, but most of the people here listening are more intelligent than that. And they know that your explanation is a non explanation, and you're balking at footage that you should have to acknowledge as real. So, I provided the evidence, and I provided a rational explanation. That's a cylindrical blimp. That's rational. Calling it a UFO, calling it an alien, that is irrational. Texas becomes UFO hotspot, hundreds of sightings. To me, that's irrational to say, oh, it's a bunch of aliens. But that's the mainstream view. And isn't this interesting too? That you have people like this commenter who literally think that anything that's not reported on the mainstream news is crazy. It's like, well, okay, fine. Trust Anderson Cooper. Trust Brian Williams. Trust Megyn Kelly. Trust Fox, by all means. Now check this out. Just for people, like, this is what I'm saying. Like, you're naive. You're so naive if you think that you're being told the truth on the news. Look at this here. This is a group of people. They had a little scam. It was a New Jersey couple where this is an example of deep faking and crisis acting. You have this individual pretending to be a homeless guy. Fake story about being a homeless veteran. Good costume. But they raised $400,000 on a GoFundMe. This is from Fox News. The scam netted them $400,000. Johnny Bobbitt, the homeless military veteran who had $400,000 raised for him by well-wishers, received the full amount of money, even though they squandered it. Yeah, it was spent on designer bags, a BMW, trips to Vegas. The entire campaign was fictitious and illegal, and there are consequences. So here's your fake homeless guy who made $400,000. So this is like a big travesty, right? But look at this. GoFundMe shootings. If you look at the amount of money that GoFundMe makes on shootings, it's unbelievable. Let's see. I think it's in the hundreds of millions. But every time there's a fake shooting, look, GoFundMe campaign gives $275,000 to every Las Vegas shooting victim. Damn, that's incredible. No, $31 million spread out among the victims. So I'm saying crisis acting is the new Hollywood. And GoFundMe, if you ask me, to me, it's just money laundering. After Kansas shooting, $1 million donated, NPR. GoFundMe has raised $1.3 million for the Orlando disco shootings. $58 million. Good job, David Hogg. March for Our Lives. You know, when you're at that event. So Emma didn't cry at the event. She didn't cry for anybody. She didn't cry at the scene. But when she was on Ellen, and Ellen gave the March for Our Lives a massive check for their march, she shed some tears. So that's how you make a crisis actor cry. You can never figure it out. It's so difficult to get these crisis actors to actually emote on camera. Just offer them a bigger check. Later today, I'll be doing a review of the Mandela Effect movie. We did watch it, a group of friends, and we have a lot of things to say about it. A couple more quick things to go over. Cold Beat did a song called Flat Earth, and it's basically a song inspired by the fires in California. So it's like an anti climate change denial song. And of course, if you're a climate change denier, you're a flat earther. And it's full of all kinds of propaganda, as you'd expect: moon landing stuff, space stuff, environmentalist stuff. But it's called Flat Earth, and of course, it's a referendum on this mentality that they say, the flat earth mentality, the mentality of people who don't believe in climate change. And that's been the line forever. Obama, Kelly, Al Gore. If you don't believe that the world's warming up, you must think the earth is flat. Or the flat earthers don't care about ocean levels rising because they know we'll just pour off the edge. They've been saying this for a long time. And it's a caricature. If you believe in global warming, you are in fact a dark ager. Like, think about it. If you're going to say that flat earth is a dark age thing, right? Well, factually speaking, we know it's not. Those of us who have researched the matter know that not only was it not a dark age thing, it's a modern phenomenon. The whole flat earth debate. Nobody thought Christopher Columbus was going over an edge. These are admitted lies that they tell the youth. They no longer actually teach that. That kids go over the edge. But anyway, when it comes to dark ages and anti-science, what are we really saying? We're saying people who don't understand the scientific methodology. And it is a fact that the climate change or climate science, whatever you want to call it, it's based on consensus. It's based on, well, 97% of scientists say this, therefore. That's not scientific. That's, in fact, dark age. So questioning tradition, questioning the establishment, questioning the data, asking questions, being skeptical, that's actually more in line with the scientific method. Blindly following dogma, faithfully following dogma. That's, if you're just going to follow along with what you've been told or what has been told before, that's not exactly scientific. It's more dark age. So I would say that not only is the climate change theory a dark age belief, or it takes a dark age mindset because it's dogmatic, but it's also a form of eschatology. It's a new doomsday. So you might be an atheist. You might think that people who believe in God are mentally ill, or people who think the world's going to end in 5 years because of God are mentally ill. And you'd be right for saying so. But what about the people who think that the world's going to end in 5 years because of climate change? Well, I would say that, yeah, that's a very ill proposition. Okay, this is a unmanned balloon flight. GoPro going near space. So this is just something to share with you, you who are watching, who may not even know how flat this thing is, but you might assume that you can see a curve from an airplane. You actually can't. And of course, if you're uneducated on the matter, you'll look at this photo here and you'll say, well, look, there's the curve of the Earth. That's called a GoPro lens. Even this, there is the curve of the Earth. No, this is not even high enough to see the curve. This, oh look, there's the ball Earth. No, it's near space. It's kind of a vague frame, a phrase, near space. What does that even mean? Like, look at this. Samsung has a space satellite, which they were using to take selfies. This is the Samsung space satellite. Now, the thing about the Samsung space satellite, because it just crashed in Detroit, it actually has space satellite written on the side. So you're supposed to believe that this thing, here it is, crash landing in someone's backyard, Thank God it didn't hit the horses. Check this out.
In a selected rural area. The gear has since been retrieved and nobody was hurt. The family thankful it landed in their yard and not elsewhere.
Thank God there's no horses out or it didn't hit the house.
Well, for such a bizarre situation, the couple did seem to...
Okay, so this space satellite was being hyped up. People were taking space selfies, and it even says here, space selfie. What most people don't know, because they're deliberately kept ignorant about it, is that this was not an orbiting satellite. This was on a balloon. It's a cell phone camera on a balloon. Not a space satellite, but they labeled it a space satellite. So then this story, which I also contend is fake, they landed this thing on purpose in this area. Space junk, close call, because this again is to reinforce the illusion of space junk. There's no such thing. Selfie and spacecraft. It's not a spacecraft. It's a camera on a balloon. I could buy a balloon, put my phone on it, send it up. It's not going to be in space. Crashed in Michigan. Doesn't go high enough to see the curve, and they're calling it a space camera. Okay, I'll be back later. We have to do our review of the Mandela effect. I'll be taking calls on the matter. So if you've seen the movie and you have any comments on it, definitely you'll want to get on the subscriber list. If you go to infiniteplainsociety.com or click the link below, you'll get notifications before we go live. And this is Terra Incognita mixtape. I'm going to play Rage Quit Boogie. I'll see you all later. Shout out to PewDiePie.